Well, welcome back. My name is Craig Bissett, and I have the privilege of introducing our next speaker, Keith Ferrazzi. And we are pleased to be a keynote sponsor for this event. The Art of Sale group has asked me just to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about our business, about hire results, and our hiring simulation process. We've been creating hiring simulations for the last 14 years with a real simple concept to allow you, the hiring team, to see sales candidates in action before you hire them. And there's a benefit to everyone. There's a benefit to you, the manager, the hiring team, and there's also a benefit to the candidate as well. And as Mitch Joel was just saying, the market's changing. And sometimes we have to change the way we hire salespeople, specifically in your market, and it's changing. So before Keith comes and speaks to us, I'm going to share with you a couple ideas of how you can manage your risk when you're hiring your next sales candidate or your sales director or manager through the use of what we call hiring simulation assessments. Real quick survey. How many in this room have hired a sales individual in the past? Just a quick raise of hand. Good point. How many of you plan to hire a salesperson in the next 3 months to 12 months? A good portion of you. Lets me know where we stand, and also you'll see how the candidates fit into this process as well. So, but before we talk about hiring sales candidates, let's talk about hiring these individuals, airline pilots. We started our company 14 years ago with a real simple concept. I was talking to a fellow who was an airline pilot, and I was telling him about our clients who were making so many hiring mistakes when they're hiring salespeople. And he looked at me and he says, you know, Craig, in the airline business, when we're hiring pilots, just because someone comes in talking like a pilot and looking like a pilot, he says, we don't give them the keys to fly the plane. He says, it's just a little too dangerous. So let's use the analogy of hiring pilots to better understand Hire Results Limited and our hiring simulation process. So imagine you in this room are part of a team that are interviewing pilots. And a pilot comes in and they look good. They have all the right answers. Everyone in the room likes them and they like you. They tell you some great stories about their flights. Great interview, and you hire them. Now let's actually fast forward to Monday morning. Their first flight. They get on the plane, they get on the speaker, and they, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your pilot. I just had a great interview last Friday with your team. Everyone liked me, I liked them. I told them great stories, but you know, they don't know if I can fly the plane yet. You're going to find out if I can fly the plane. I'm not sure you and I would actually feel too comfortable if we were on a plane where an airline pilot had been hired through a traditional interview process. So this is what happens. When you're hiring a pilot, the team doesn't say, great interview. They say, you know what you just told us? Why don't you show us? Why don't we walk you down the aisle to a flight simulator into a realistic but safe environment? And why don't you just show us what you just told us? This is the way airline pilots are hired through the airline business. And it only makes sense because it's just too costly to make a hiring mistake. So let's come back to hiring salespeople. How many of you in this room have said this? Great interview, but what happened? The candidate came in, we had a great interview, the resume was amazing, the references were stellar. But at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, the candidate missed quota completely. The question is, what happened? What happened from the interview, from them joining you? For the last 14 years, we've been working with organizations in North America, and we have been working with sales managers, directors, and presidents. Our firms that we've worked with have been large and small, teams of 3 salespeople up to teams of around 4,000 salespeople, and we've had one goal, to double their success in hiring salespeople. So let me give you one word of advice. Don't trust the interview. You need to see the sales candidate in action in real-life business settings before you hire them. We have proven that there is no relationship to how the sales candidate interviews and how they execute. Actually, we've proven a complete opposite. Some of your best interviewers are going to be your worst candidates, and vice versa. So hiring simulations allow you to test drive or see the candidate in action in real-life business settings. Just like the airlines hiring pilots, hiring simulations just makes sense, allow you to move away from the gut. We did a survey, and we asked hiring teams 2 questions. Why did you hire that last sales candidate? 82% said we hired the candidate because we, quote, liked them. We then said of the candidates that you hired, of the individuals that you liked, what percent did you know that they could execute in the critical elements of the job? 80% said, good question, waiting for the candidate to show up and show us how they can sell. We think that's too late for the candidate and definitely too late for the organization. So the past 14 years, we've been assisting clients to doubling their hiring success. We've allowed organizations to move past the smooth-talking salesperson and to actually see them in action. So like in the airline business, we allow you to move past the emotion of, quote, I like you, into engagement, to actually put the lens on to see the candidate as if they're on the job today. You get a completely different look at the candidate. So I hope this has been a good little introduction with regards to the hiring simulation process. We're in the magazine on page 47. I'd love to have you come by the booth and give you some real-life examples of the hiring simulation process. And the last thing I want to say is, at the end of the day, you're going to be given this survey, and it's an opt-in for some information. You can opt into a white paper written by Dr. Tom Oliver, a PhD in simulations, and myself, and it's called The Missing Link to Hiring Salespeople Through Simulations. Tick off that and we'll send it to you. But you haven't come to hear me. You've come to listen to Keith, and I have the real privilege of introducing Keith Ferrazzi. Keith Ferrazzi is the New York Times #1 best-selling author of Who's Got Your Back? His first book, the national bestseller, Never Eat Alone, Transformed Networking Today, and won him the title of the world's most connected person from Forbes and Inc. He is the world's foremost expert in and brings 20 years of research and experience to the art of science and relationships. As CEO of the Ferrazzi Greenlight, a strategic consulting firm, he works to transform old behaviors that block global organizations from reaching their goals into new behaviors that increase shareholder value and profit. In fact, the firm's Greenlight Research Institute has proven the correlation between positive relationships and business success. Their continuing mission is to help companies and individuals ignite their success through better, deeper relationships. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Keith Ferrazzi.